Hi everyone, this is Amy Northcutt. I'm the Application Specialist for the Engineering segment here at Trimble, and today's webinar is Truly Constructible Deliverables Part 2. You may have seen Part 1 on February 21st, but in case you missed it, you can go get that recording of Part 1 on Tekla, on the Tekla.com website. Alternatively, you can just Google Tekla webinars and you'll be able to see where all of our previously recorded webinars are available for you to download and view. So previously, we covered before you start ways to get your model ready for drawing production, drawing creation, drawing content, model objects, things of that nature, as well as annotations. And today, we're going to be going over some specialty drawing tools in Tekla structures, some management and quality control type functionalities, as well as printing and exporting your drawings. So let's get right into it. Let's first start talking about various drawing tools that are available, the first of which is the Drawing Content Manager. This is a brand new tool that's available with Tekla Structures 2018 and allows you to list drawing content, whether that be the entire sheet, the selected view, or just selected objects within a view. It allows you to check that all appropriate marks are present, giving you a mark quantity for each item listed over in the Drawing Content Manager on the side pane. It allows you to edit the objects, select the objects, and edit the marks as well. Modify, add, or remove marks and or associative notes. And it also allows you to do effectively a live search through the drawing content and through the list over on the Drawing Content Manager, making it easier to manage changes and really get a handle on what's going on with your drawing at any given moment. The Drawing Content Manager is a brand new feature, so I'm going to take some time to go over the various functionalities of the Drawing Content Manager. First, it can be accessed on the side pane over on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see initially nothing is populated in these various categories that you can see, but once I click the Show button, that will populate the list with whatever view or objects are selected in the model, and if nothing is selected, then it will populate the list with everything from that entire sheet. So I've got one view selected now, and I can click Show to populate the list with those objects. I can expand the various categories to see a detailed list of all of the assemblies, parts, welds, reinforcement, so on and so forth within that category. And I can also sort each category by the column headers, including the mark quantity here, so I can see which parts might have marks and which parts might be missing marks quite quickly within the Drawing Content Manager. By selecting one of the objects in the list, I also select that object in the drawing view or in the drawing itself. I can also select all of those objects at once by selecting many objects within the list at a time. If I toggle on the switch between selecting marks and selecting parts button, then I will be selecting the actual part mark of that object when I'm selecting the object in the list. I can also select all of those just the same way that I did parts, and I can toggle back and forth if I'd prefer. By right-clicking on an object within the list, I can add a part mark or I can add an associative note to that object. And then if I have added a mark, the mark quantity will not immediately be changed, but if I press the refresh button within my Drawing Content Manager, then the Drawing Content Manager will refresh and I will see that I've added a mark to that particular element. The Drawing Content Manager also allows me to search through the list that's populated. So what I'll do here is I'll click Show and then populate the list for this entire sheet, including this big isometric view that you can see over here on the left-hand side. When I do so, you can see right now I have 316 parts listed here, so quite a few, but I can use the Search tab or the search bar here to search for specific named objects within this list. And so for instance, I've typed in PLA for plate, and if I scroll down through here, you can see that this list has been narrowed to 93 parts, all of which are plates. Now I can use this to select either individual or the entire group of objects within my drawing. So once I get all of those selected, you can see that those get selected within the view, and then I can right-click here to edit the properties or hide or show all of these objects at once, either from the drawing view or from the entire sheet at once. And I can also edit the actual property. So if I wanted to turn these to be the special color or the non-print color, I can change those there. This applies for any object here within the model. So this would this would apply for welds here as well. And if I go back to all of the parts, I can also search amongst any of the fields. So it doesn't have to just be the name. If I wanted to search for instance, the position, I have multiple members with the same position number within this model, I can search for that specific position number and select all of those beams with the position number BL10 at one time. I can also do this for class. So searching for just class 99 objects within the list, and then utilizing that designation to help me select objects or add marks or whatever the task may be at that time. All right. The next addition to this webinar is the Arrange and Align Marks tools. These are also brand new tools as of Tekla Structures 2018, and these are what I'm referring to as semi-automatic drawing tools. They do require that you select the marks that you would like to arrange or align, but the arrangement and alignment is much more automatic than those that we've used previously in Tekla Structures. So I have a quick video which combines actually all the Drawing Content Manager and our new Align tools all together. So here you can see I have a complex rebar wall section here, and I'm selecting just that specific view. If I open up the Drawing Content Manager, you can see that I can populate the Drawing Content Manager with the parts or elements from that particular view. By selecting the objects in the Drawing Content Manager, as you know, that selects the objects in the view, whether it be parts themselves or even rebar. So I can select specific bars here by selecting them in the list. Now I can also sort this by the mark quantity, as I mentioned before, so I can see which rebar marks I might want to populate a mark for, or which rebar I'm missing a mark for. I can right-click and add marks to all of the reinforcement in this view, which will be many. And now you can see, first of all, the mark placement is pretty good to begin with, but if I wanted to make some adjustments, perhaps I want those all to be aligned together. That's where these tools come in handy. So using the Drawing Content Manager, I'm selecting all of the marks at once, and I'm clicking the Arrange Marks button a few times. This is going through and it's removing overlapping leader lines and just arranging the marks such that they're in a slightly better position relative to one another. And if there's a specific area, say down here in the bottom left, that I want to adjust, make some adjustments to and improve the alignment or organization of those marks, I can just select just those specific marks rather than all of them like I was before. So I'm going to select just those marks and use the Arrange Marks button tool. And you can see by pressing that and then the Align Marks tool, these marks are grouped a little bit better and arranged on my sheet in a much more conducive way. The next tool I wanted to talk to you guys about is actually an extension available on the Tekla warehouse. It's called Modify Model Object Properties from GA Drawing. A bit of a lengthy name, but if you've ever wanted to change your model objects from within your Tekla Structures drawing, this is the tool for you. This allows you to install the extension, and once you've done so, you'll utilize the contextual toolbar in the drawing view to edit the basic properties and UDAs of parts that are shown in your GA drawings. Changes will be clouded immediately, and it does affect numbering. For instance, if I'm looking at an erection plan and all of my beams have already been numbered, this would affect the numbering if I change, say, the part profile or any other attribute of a part that affects numbering. Here is a quick demonstration of that tool. So you can see I have just a plan view of some beams and columns here, and I'm going to show you the model view at the same time as the drawing view, so we can see those both together and see the changes happening. Inside my drawing view, now that I have this extension installed, whenever I select a member in the model, and I utilize the contextual toolbar, you can see I have the model object properties at the very bottom. I can change the basic attributes like the class, which you can see is very clearly demonstrated over in the model view, changed automatically. Likewise, will change for my my section size. If I'm changing a section size, I can use the drop down to supply or to select a previously used beam size, or I can just type in the profile that I'd like to use. And once I click away from the contextual toolbar, that change gets updated in my model view immediately. And of course, you can see that as I was doing that, the W18 by 55 also got clouded as I went through. Okay. Right on to the next. The next tool I wanted to mention is the beam end symbols tool. And I've already spent about 20-25 minutes on an extensive YouTube video describing this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to leave that to the YouTube video here. You can find that on the Tekla Structures YouTube page. But I will tell you a little bit about what this tool does so that you're aware of its functionality and you can go utilize it as well. So this is the Beam End Symbols tool, also an extension from the warehouse, as I mentioned. And what this allows you to do is, based on user-defined attributes, or UDAs, on my model objects, I'm able to populate symbols on the ends of beams in drawings automatically. So this could be a moment connection, this could be a slip critical connection. Another use case that someone mentioned to me was showing that there's a horizontal brace above without actually showing that true shape of that horizontal brace in my 2D view here. Great ideas for this tool. So based on a UDA in my model, I'm able to populate my moment symbols, as you can see in this view, automatically, or any other symbol that you can even customize on your drawings. Next is the Drawing Layout Editor. This is a brand new tool. If you've ever used Tekla Structures before and had to create the table layout, utilizing many of these dialog boxes, don't worry about that any further. We have a newer, better tool for you now, and that's this tool called the Drawing Layout Editor. It is very much a what you see is what you get. That's what this acronym stands for, Drawing Sheet Setup, allowing you to move, rotate, add templates to your drawings, and either save over with an existing template or save over as a new name, or save over an existing template or save with a new name. So here on the right hand side, you can see I'm just selecting the templates in my sheet and moving them around, either by direct modification or by right-clicking and using the move functionality. I'm able to anchor my templates to specific areas of the drawing or based on specific corners of the templates, and I can even save those. You can see I can overwrite the current layout, or I can create a new layout with a new name. If I save over the existing layout, that will update all of the drawings within my drawing set that are already utilizing that specific layout name, thus populating that throughout just populating the changes throughout my entire drawing set. An extra note on templates and drawings: as of Tekla Structures 2018, rather than having to reopen a drawing when I've made a change and the template needed to be refreshed, I can now just refresh my Tekla Structures drawings by right-clicking and selecting Refresh Template. No need to close and reopen my drawings again. So now we're going to talk about some of the various quality control and drawing management functionalities within Tekla Structures, starting with some of the basics here, the drawing list tools. I'm often surprised when speaking to existing customers as to how few of them are utilizing these on a regular basis. So I wanted to make sure to just highlight them so that everyone is aware of the functionalities available. So the first is the selected objects. So I can select specific objects within my model and have those drawings be narrowed down within the list based on that selection, or vice versa. I can select drawings in the drawing list and show those objects selected in the model. Up at the very top, I can also search through my drawing list and sort this by categories, whether they be GA drawings, cast unit drawings, assembly drawings, multi-drawings, so on. So I've got a quick video to show that functionality here within Tekla Structures. You can see I've got a big list of drawings, both GA drawings as well as assembly drawings, so steel fabrication drawings here, and I can search through this. So at the very top, I'm going to search for framing and hit enter, and by doing so, you can see that my drawing list has been narrowed down to those that match that search criteria. By clicking show all, you can see I remove the results of that search, and then I can use the drop-down menu here to sort the different categories of drawings within my list. So now I'm just looking at GA drawings, and I can sort to assembly drawings here as well, or cast unit drawings if I had some of those included here within that list. Once I go back to all, again, that search criteria or this categorization is removed. And now if I select objects in the model and click select objects, or excuse me, click by parts in my drawing list, that will narrow down the drawing list to just those parts that have been selected, and vice versa. If I select the model or the drawing, I can click selected object, and that will be highlighted then in the model. The next functionality I wanted to talk about is the drawing overlay. This is really great for making sure that all of your sheets are up to date and ensuring that your latest model changes have been incorporated and getting a really quick visual of that functionality. So on this, let's back up just a second. On the drawing list, you can see I have the snapshots button down here at the bottom right. What that's doing, every time you close your drawing, you may have noticed where there's a checkbox to say create snapshot. What that allows you to do is create an image file of that drawing that's accessed a little bit faster than the drawing itself because it's just a simple image of that, and save that away and utilize that in many different ways. So in this case, we're going to both overlay the drawing snapshot on the model view as well as over an existing drawing. So let's see that functionality in the model here. Okay, so I can highlight a framing plan and click on snapshot in order to see the snapshot of that sheet. You can see it's the same area that we're looking at here in the model view. I've got dimensions and part marks and section callouts here, and once I click overlay in the model, it shows me that drawing view on top of my 3D model view. And so I can quickly see that there's something off here. I must have made a few changes to those members since I have last opened this sheet. But I can go through and make sure that all of my dimension lines still make sense and my part marks make sense, and see those 2D annotations in the 3D context of my drawing view. Now I can also take that functionality and I can open up that existing drawing so that I can see where those disparities may have come from. So if I open that up, I can quickly see that I have a few change symbols. So something has changed since I last opened this sheet in the model. And now once I overlay that snapshot on my drawing view, I'm able to colorize the snapshot so that I can really clearly see where the differences are. And so obviously I can see that those dimension marks have been clouded, so something has changed there, and those beams must have moved south in my drawing sheet here. The next functionality to go over is the freeze and lock functionality. These are both, again, over on the right-hand side of my drawing list. Freezes the associativity within any of the marks or dimensions in your drawing so that those do not update when the model changes. And then lock actually basically takes it such that other humans cannot accidentally modify this drawing. So you're saying you don't want anyone else to modify this drawing, and they will get a warning when trying to open the sheet before they're able to make any modifications. They do have to actually physically unlock that drawing. Anyone can unlock the drawing if you're in a multi-user or model sharing environment, but they cannot. But they have to manually unlock that drawing in order to make changes. So it has to be very intentional and not accidental. It's worth noting that using both of these functionalities, both freeze and lock, if something changes physically within your model, the geometry of the model object still updates in your drawing views. Next is revisions. So of course, as you would expect, we can add revisions to any of these drawings so that you can track your progress and track the various submittal times and revision dates as you're going through creating your drawing set. So over on the right-hand side, there's the revision button, which brings up the revision handling dialog, in which I can populate with the revision mark, who this has been created by, checked by, descriptions, information, dates, so on and so forth. So if I wanted to create a new revision, I can just select the drawings in the list that I would like to create a revision of, click the revision button, populate this dialog with the data that I'd like to add to those drawings. And then once I'm ready to create that revision, I just click the create button. If I want to edit an existing revision, on the right-hand side here, you can see that I've got a revision number drop-down. Once I've already created revisions in my drawings, I can then use the drop-down to access previously created revisions and make modifications if I need to. So if I'm looking for revision 2, I could just load that in the drop-down menu, make some changes, perhaps add a description here, and click Modify, and that will amend that revision mark on any of the selected sheets in my in my drawing list. Last but certainly not least, I wanted to take a few moments to go over our printing and exporting functionalities, as they've both been revamped very recently. So for printing, I have full options for changing the naming convention, the color options, the line width for all of the colors, and even of course doing batch plotting. So let's see that here in the model. So I can either access the printing dialog by right-clicking in the drawing list and clicking Print Drawings, or going to the printing menu within the file menu. This accesses the Print Drawings dialog, and if I select multiple drawings within my drawing list, I can show all of those drawings within the print dialog in the previews, as well as, of course, batch plot all of those. I can save those to a specific file location, and I have some options for how I want to open those folders. And then I can also affect the naming of these files. So if I wanted to put a prefix on these, you can see I'm typing here, and I've got a preview of what the file name is going to look like with the prefix or the suffix that I've chosen. Okay, so as I'm typing, that's updating for me dynamically there in the view. And then of course I have all of your standard options for centering on drawing paper, scaling your drawing, what size sheet and orientation you'd like to be using, and then the colorization. And when I change the colorization here, that also updates my preview. And if I change that back to color, I can go over to the line properties and show you some additional functionalities here. So on the Line Properties tab, this enables me to map the Tekla Structures object color within the drawings to any color that I would like. So here I've changed all of the blue Tekla Structures line work to red, and of course I can reset that by just clicking the Reset Colors button. And at any point, once those look how I would expect or how I prefer, I can click the Print button to go through plotting all 5 of those sheets at once. So in addition to printing, of course, we can also export our Tekla Structures drawings to DWG files or DXF files. We're looking at the dialog box for exporting over here on the right-hand side, which can also be accessed the same way as the print by right-clicking on the drawing in the drawing list or by accessing this through the File menu. So here within the dialog box, I can specify where I'd like these DWG DXF files to be located once I've exported them. I can open that folder when I'm finished, and then I can also add file prefixes and suffixes the same way I can for printed sheets. I can choose here whether I'd like this to be a DWG or DXF file and of what version. And then I can also choose to embed images in the file, group the objects into blocks or ungroup those, and include a drawing as a snapshot into the CAD model space. I also have the opportunity to transform the coordinates of this DWG file into either local or global coordinates depending upon my preferences. On the second tab here, I can also map various layers from Tekla Structures drawing layers to CAD layers. And we don't really think of them as Tekla Structures drawing layers so much as I just said, as there's different types of elements within Tekla Structures drawings, and we're going to map those onto various CAD layers. Now, you could bring in an existing DWG file with these layers set up in the drawing template location here in order to pre-populate these target layers. So what I'm doing here in this dialog box is first I'm determining which Tekla object is going to be mapped to a layer. And so this could be parts within models, and you can see that I can select certain, or I can use object filters here to determine which objects or which types of parts are going to be mapped to a specific layer. So if I want to isolate foundations, I can look to just concrete pad footings, strip footings, things of that nature. And I can choose whether I want the hidden lines, the fills, the hatches. I can map all of these different elements of the Tekla structures part to a specific DWG layer. And then I can also use the toggle switches over here on the right hand side to determine whether I'm using the DWG style or the Tekla structures drawing style. In other words, a line might have a specific line weight within the Tekla structures drawing. However, I either want to use the Tekla structures line weight, or I can utilize the DWG or DXF file line weight. So I have lots of mapping that I can do here, and of course, as everything within Tekla structures, I can save this away, so I only have to do that one time, and then every drawing export or DWG export is going to be correct from there on out. Okay, and that concludes the end of our Truly Constructible Deliverables webinar part 2. So feel free to type any questions that you might have at the moment into the chat box on the right-hand side or on your GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar dialog box. And if you'd prefer, you can also shoot me an email with those questions at amy.northcutt@trimble.com. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great day.